So shy in fact that it took Westerns until 1901 to spot their first live oak copy. So for the longest time, Westerns had considered them a myth. Now those oak copies on the right are male because they got those ossicombs sticking out of their forehead. Ossicombs are horn-like structures underneath the skin, which ossicombs is something that they share with the giraffe, but both male and female giraffes have ossicombs. Another thing they share in common is their skull shape. They'll be bigger on the giraffe, they are the bigger animal, and they share prehensile tongues. They then go for a finger-like, so they're going to use their long, sticky tongues to wrap around the branches to rip off leaves for them to eat. Now on the elevated rock platform that's on the left-hand side, you might notice the black rhino that's up there. They're going to be one of the 5 remaining species of rhino alive today. They do have a cone-shaped upper lip, which is a prehensile appendage. Basically, they go for finger-like. They're going to use it kind of like a spoon to bring the food into their mouths.
Isso em outro lugar. Olha lá o rinoceronte lá, Dodó. Olha lá dela.
Now you might notice it has a whole bunch of mud covering it, and that's because rhinos love to coat themselves with mud. It has cooling properties, but it also doubles as a sunscreen/insect repellent. If you look on the right-hand side, you might notice the pale color. That's a species of antelope called the greater kudu. And then there is some copper coloring, so those horns sticking out of the bushes, that's the bongo. Both of them are species of antelope. Now for the bongo, their inverted horns are in the nickname the ghost of the forest, because it allows them to make little to-down noise as they move through the underbrush. Both the male and females have those fun-looking horns. As for the greater kudu, only the males have the horns, so that's how we know those are females. And their pale coloring is similar to some of the
olha que bonito esse passo.
On the left-hand side is 2 black and white birds. Those are the saddle-billed storks. They tend to be pretty solitary, but when they're close together like that, odds are they are mated pair. They do mate for life. Females have yellow eyes, males have brown eyes, and they have a pretty big wingspan. It's going to be about as wide as a canopy up above your head. That's about it for Little Terry Forest. Next up is Safi River. Since it is a body of water, that's where we see more aquatic inclined animals. So really look to the water for disclosure and movement. There's going to be pretty good signs. There's an animal underneath the water surface. On the right-hand side is going to be some grayish colored birds, and those are the pink-backed pelicans. They tend to be by the trees because they build a nest there or on the ground near cliffs. They are colonial nesters, so imagine up to 500 of them. They're about to stay in the same nesting ground, and as long as the water quality is good, they do return. That's why it's really important we maintain the cleanliness of our local waterways. Now, it was kind of hard to see, but they do have some pink feathers on their back. Probably how they got the name pink-backed pelican. They do adopt a more noticeable pink color, however, during mating season, their skin itself turns pink, and it kind of looks like they're blushing, searching for their next mate. How cute is that? Now I am seeing across the way on the left-hand side some Nile hippopotamus. They're in the water. So you see where the waterfall's hitting the water back there? They're in that area. You can kind of see the tops of the head peeking out. Now a group of hippos is referred to as a bloat, so that's a bloat right there. And hippopotamus is Latin for river horse. They do have the ability to seal their nostrils and bring their ears flush to their head so that no water can enter. That's how they're able to sink to the bottom of the river where they walk/run there. It's also what allows them to sleep under the water should it tickle their fancy. When they decide to sleep in the water, all they'll do is every couple minutes bring their heads up to the surface for some breaths before bringing their heads back down underneath the water, all while remaining unconscious. That's about it for Safi. Next up is the savanna. Out on the savanna, the foliage is not dense like it was at the Little Terry Forest, so the animals here not too concerned with camouflage. Instead, it's all about the safety in numbers, so they prefer to be in groups. Not a lot of foliage does mean not a lot of shade, so some of them have to rely on certain adaptations to regulate their body temperature. Depending on the animals that we see out there, I may be able to share some cool ways they cool down with you today. But coming up on the right-hand side is going to be a tree not quite like the rest, and that's called the baobab tree. A specific one on the right-hand side is a sign that we're going to be entering the savanna. Baobab trees in general do go by 2 nicknames, one of which is the tree of life because it can store thousands of gallons of water in their trunks. The other nickname that they go by is the upside down tree. And that's because their branches kind of look like root systems. They are going to look like that for most of the year.
Bisa kanan? Agora a gente vai pra cá.
I got it. A girafa lá, ó. Lá longe.
And across the way on the right hand side, kind of by the tree, is a Maasai giraffe, but it's all the way off in the distance. I will point them out again when we get closer. But I know it's a Maasai giraffe because in comparison to the
Vamos passar lá
other
perto da
species of
girafa.
giraffe, they have the darker color spots and they're
Vi,
jagged
né,
around the edges. A group of giraffes is referred to as a tower, probably because they tower up above us. They average at 16 to 20 feet tall, with the babies being born around 6 feet. Due to their tall stature, giraffes do spend most of their time standing up. They sleep, eat, and even give birth standing. Though sleep is kind of a loose term. Giraffes rest for about 30 minutes a day. That's all in a row. Instead, they spend most of their time eating. They're almost constantly chewing, so